Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha.
So in terms of pending cases, approximately 250 homicides and 3,000 other felony cases. Back in 2016, the staffing was 60 attorneys. That was the high point, and obviously we're nowhere near that currently. Everybody who we've hired will be on board by August 1st. So as of that date, we'll be 36 and maybe a couple more.
Just over 2 months ago, on May 4th, Kim Gardner announced that she would resign her position as St. Louis Circuit Attorney on June 1st. She was facing an effort by Missouri's Attorney General to oust her from office, and she was under scrutiny of many Republican state lawmakers. And it wasn't just Republicans who were critical of her performance. She'd been accused of mismanagement for many months, and Mayor Tashara Jones, a Democrat, had said Gardner had lost the trust of the people. Gardner ended up resigning 2 weeks sooner than she said she would, and after a short interim period, Gabe Gore was appointed to lead the office by Governor Mike Parson on May 30th. Gabe Gore most recently was in private practice as a partner at the Dowd Bennett law firm in St. Louis. He previously served as an assistant U.S. attorney, a law clerk for federal appeals court judge, and was an assistant special counsel for the investigation of the FBI raid in Waco. Now, 6 weeks into the job, Gabe Gore joins us. Circuit Attorney Gore, welcome to St. Louis on the Air.
It's very good to be here. Thank you for having me.
So let's get some of this out of the way. On the day Kim Gardner resigned, again, sooner than expected, her office put out a statement that said, quote, "Ms. Gardner has been committed to serving the people of the city of St. Louis and has done all she can to ensure a smooth transition," end quote. Do you believe, Gabe Gore, that Kim Gardner helped ensure a smooth transition?
The transition for me went from the interim team from the governor's office and the attorney general's office who were in for about, 8 days or so before I was formally appointed. Mm-hmm. So my transition went from them to me, and that transition was as smooth as it could be under the circumstances.
Right. And was there any communication that you had with Kim Gardner at all then?
I have not spoken to Kim Gardner.
Mm-hmm. Does it surprise you that she didn't reach out?
No, it did not surprise me. I would be happy to speak with her if she did reach out to me, but it didn't surprise me that she did not.
We are going to open the phone lines today, and I'd like to invite you to the conversation. Do you have a question for St. Louis Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore? Give us a call at 314-382-8255. That's 382-TALK, or you can send us a tweet at STL On Air or email us at talk@stlpr.org. Let's talk about hiring. Now, one of your biggest challenges when you assumed office on May 30th, and it's one that you acknowledge, was recruiting people to work in your office. Now, earlier in the week, you announced that you've hired 5 new assistant circuit attorneys, and that brings the total number of key hires to 14. What's been your approach to getting people to join your office?
Well, first of all, I'll just update your numbers a bit. Oh. I interviewed an attorney last week who accepted today, so now that number is 15 new attorneys hired.
Okay.
That happened just before I came here.
Mm-hmm.
When I accepted the appointment, that was the big question, who is going to be willing to step up and come back and, do what's necessary to restore the place of the circuit attorney's office in the criminal justice system here in the city of St. Louis. And not long after I was appointed, I really started to gain an understanding for the level of dedication and commitment that a lot of the former circuit attorneys really had to the St. Louis community and the office. They were very proud of what they had built over the years at the circuit attorney's office. And that gave me hope that those people would be willing to come back. And sure enough, that's what's happened. I could not be happier with the response we've received. Not only have we been able to hire 15 attorneys in 6 weeks, we've hired attorneys who have decades of experience, have tried, over 300 felony trials collectively, and really just bring the kind of senior leadership and trial experience that we're going to need back to the office.
Mm-hmm. So season and passion have returned.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, when you took over, there were just 21 attorneys on the trial staff, and none of those attorneys have left. Is their staying something that you're proud of as well?
I am proud of that. I'm very pleased with that. That is one thing I was very pleased with when I got to the office. There were approximately 25 attorneys there. 4 of those attorneys are in child support, so not part of the trial staff. So you have approximately 21 trial staff attorneys. And I really took the time to meet with every single attorney in the office over the past few weeks, and really wanted to thank them and express my appreciation for them staying and willing to be part of what we're building. They're a great group of attorneys, and I really look forward to working with them.
Mm-hmm. And what were those meetings like? And, what were people saying to you?
Almost across the board, actually I can say universally, they expressed that they were pleased that they had new leadership and that there were going to be new attorneys joining us. They were very excited by that. Obviously, they were carrying very high caseloads, and they were relieved with the thought that there were going to be people joining them. The young attorneys were particularly excited by the fact that they were going to have some very senior, experienced attorneys joining our office to mentor and guide them and supervise them. They had missed that over the past couple of years. So really a lot of enthusiasm. I've heard repeatedly from the trial staff that was there when I arrived that their morale is up and they're energized and they're excited.
So that sense of morale, that's a really big deal going into any new sort of situation. And do you feel like that is something that from the moment you came in that you felt good about? Has it been building up over time?
I would say that it has built over the last 6 weeks. When we got there, things were still very much in triage mode. I mean, I remember I got there and we had things set for trial the next week that we had to figure out. At that point, the only lawyers who joined me on my first day were my senior counsel, Terry O'Toole, who's somebody who I've practiced with for many years. Mm-hmm. He was there with me, and Marvin Tier, our chief trial assistant, who had recently left the office and agreed to come back and join us. The three of us really were managing a lot of things in those first few weeks. As the weeks went on and we got additional attorneys and leaders back, like Steve Capizzi in the Warren office and Mary Pat Carl to be our chief of homicide, things have calmed a bit, and we're managing things a bit better. And just the more good people you get back, the easier everything becomes to manage, and the more morale increases and improves.
Mm-hmm. And you speak to calm, which is a very welcome thing. Is there anything perhaps that you've implemented or that's taken hold during your short tenure, again, just 6 weeks, that has made the circuit attorney's office an enjoyable or even fun place to work, especially given that it's such an inherently high-stress environment?
So I will tell you that you can talk to any former circuit attorney in the city of St. Louis, and they will all say the same thing to you. no matter what their job is now, they will say, that was the best job I ever had. People really do enjoy the work. It is stressful. It is all-consuming, but at the end of the day, people feel really good about it, and they enjoy aspects of the job of getting to interact with the community, getting to seek justice for people in the community, getting the opportunity to try cases. Is something everybody enjoys at our office, or else they wouldn't be there. So, I think people are enjoying our work now. Maybe they weren't when they were, at some point when your caseload is so overwhelming,
Right.
you can't really enjoy your work because you're just trying to survive.
Right,
But I
right.
do think we're getting back to the place where people feel like things are manageable and they're enjoying their work.
Well, that sounds like a bit of an endorsement for why people should come to work with you in this office. So you're now up to 36 attorneys? There will be 36.
That's correct. I think everybody who we've hired will be on board by August 1st. So as of that date, we'll be 36 and maybe a couple more, depending
Right.
on how hiring goes between now and then.
Sure. And, what would full staffing be in your office?
So back in 2016, as you've probably heard this number, the staffing was 60 attorneys. That was the high point, and obviously we're nowhere near that currently. What is the correct staffing? Time will tell. I would imagine that we're going to have to get back to at least that 60 attorney level to be fully staffed, and it may be more. Because it just depends on the volume of our caseload and the mix of cases that we have. So that remains to be seen. Certainly at this point, we're nowhere near where we need to be. The caseloads that attorneys are carrying are more manageable now than they were a few weeks ago because we've added 15 attorneys. However, they're still not where you would want them to be in order to be really effective on each of your cases.
So in terms of backlog and sort of reducing the number of cases each attorney is responsible for, during your press conference yesterday, you spoke about backlog. What was the backlog?
So in terms of pending cases, there were, the day I was sworn in, approximately 250 homicides pending and 3,000 other felony cases. That's including robberies, sexual assaults, and then just your general felonies, which we refer to as CD&E felonies, burglary and things like that. The Circuit Attorney's Office is always the highest volume prosecuting attorney's office in the state of Missouri. So those numbers are daunting, but it's a office that is used to handling that kind of volume. So since I've been in the office, what we've done is we've brought back supervisors who are assigning cases in a more systematic way than they were being assigned before we got there. Making sure that the most experienced attorneys have our most serious cases, trying to make sure each attorney has a caseload that is manageable, and that's how we're going to have to work through it.
Yeah. You did mention a lot of numbers during the press conference, but is there something that figures fail to capture about the magnitude of work that you were looking at when you arrived?
I would say what the numbers probably don't capture is the commitment level of the attorneys who do this work, and how when they're not put in positions to succeed and not able to handle their cases effectively in the way that they know they should be handled, the stress that places on those attorneys, and really the dedication to the community and to St. Louis that it takes for people to continue through that. So that's something that probably hasn't been captured in the numbers, but I see it every day with the people I work with.
Mm-hmm. And among those you work with, it's not just attorneys. You had said, again, during the press conference yesterday, that you had not thought much about the state of administrative and support staff. What has managing that entailed?
Well, really, the story I've been telling everyone is when I got to the office and I would always ask who can help me with this administrative matter or that administrative matter. After a while, I noticed that it was the same person, my wonderful executive assistant, Eula Simmons. And that's when I started to realize that, we really need to build out some of the support staff here. And we've been doing that. So we've brought back, we've hired a couple people in victim services. We've also hired a paralegal supervisor to come back and help build out our paralegal support. In addition, I've put some additional management in place on the administrative side in terms of a chief of staff, Terry O'Toole, and a deputy chief of staff. So we're making progress.
Yeah, and it takes its own kind of village.
Yes.
We need to take a quick break, but we'll be back shortly to continue this conversation. This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio. Now back to our conversation with Gabe Gore. Let's talk, Gabe, about Christopher Dunn. So Christopher Dunn was 19 years old when he was convicted of a 1990 murder based solely on the testimony of two adolescent boys who later recanted. And in 2020, a Texas county judge said, quote, "This court does not believe that any jury would now convict Christopher Dunn under these facts," unquote. We've covered Chris Dunn's case on this show several times and talked with his wife, Kira Dunn. And the news here is that you've appointed someone to review this case. And we'll get to the specifics in a moment, but to catch us up to speed, can you remind us why your office needs to file a petition to vacate Dunn's conviction?
Okay, so just to think about it procedurally, shows then Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner filed a motion to vacate the conviction of Christopher Dunn, I believe, a few days before she announced her resignation. That motion to vacate was based on a finding by her in her office at the time that there was, in Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner's opinion, clear and convincing evidence of actual innocence. And that's something that she was representing to the court. When she resigned and I was appointed, that motion was pending, and it was pending based on the review that Ms. Gardner had conducted. I did not feel that it would be proper for me to go forward making a representation to the court that I had conducted a review and reached those conclusions, when I have to confess that on the day I was sworn in, I had not heard the name Christopher Dunn. Mm-hmm. So we withdrew the motion to vacate the petition, and now it's my duty and obligation to conduct a review of the matter to see if I think that a motion to vacate the petition is the appropriate thing. In doing that, I've appointed former Judge Booker Shaw as a special assistant circuit attorney to assist and advise me in connection with that review. But ultimately, I will have to review all of the information that we receive, all of the information that Booker Shaw puts together for us, and consider it and make a decision. Mm-hmm. And once that's made, if we do choose to go forward with a motion to vacate or any court proceeding, Booker Shaw will represent us in that proceeding as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, Karen from St. Louis called in to ask whether your decision to withdraw the motion was politically motivated.
No, it was not politically motivated. It was really just based on my training as a lawyer. When I read the motion and saw what the representations the motion was making to the court, it didn't take me very long to understand that those were not representations I was prepared to make. Mm-hmm. And, one thing as a lawyer, just as a fundamental fact, which is you always have to be completely truthful and candid with the court. So there was no way I could leave a motion pending saying that I had conducted a review that I had not conducted. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't political at all, and it wasn't a difficult decision. It was really just what was procedurally necessary.
Right. And was it at all, in terms of the procedural aspect of it and what you did see, were there problems that you saw with Gardner's motion? Was it incomplete or misleading, or did you just really want to start right from a point of looking at everything thoroughly yourself?
I concluded that it was procedurally required and necessary that before I could ever go forward with such a motion, mm-hmm. I would have to conduct a complete and thorough review. Sure.
And the timeline for this review, when do you hope to make a decision as to whether you will file a motion to vacate?
We don't have a specific timeline. We're moving as quickly as we can. Obviously, I am busy with other things, and my staff is busy with other things, which is why it was very fortunate for us that Booker Shaw was willing to step up and serve as a special assistant circuit attorney to assist in the review. So we're going to move as quickly as we possibly can. We're going to make sure we gather all of the relevant information. I'm going to make sure that I personally read everything that is considered relevant to this decision, and we're going to make the correct decision.
We have a question from Twitter, and this asks, will Gabe Gore work to reduce the jail population by increasing pretrial releases? Those have been plummeting again since the accident that put the Circuit Attorney's Office in the political limelight. The person is talking about what had happened with Janae Edmondson. Does he, Gabe Gore, have the bravery to do what's right? Pretrial detention of unconvicted people destroys families. And again, this was a question that came to us on Twitter.
Okay. Our philosophy at our office is to move for pretrial detention on cases where we believe that there are no set of circumstances under which the person can be released pretrial without posing a danger to the community, or if we believe that the person's a flight risk and that they're not going to appear on their case. Those are the two instances in which we seek pretrial detention. Otherwise, the court's going to make the final determination. If they agree with us, a person's detained if we reach those conclusions that there's no set of circumstances under which a person can be released and not be a danger to themselves or the community. If the judge disagrees with us, what the court tries to do is come up with a set of circumstances whereby the person can be released, but they can also feel comfortable that they won't harm themselves or the community or not appear for trial. So that's the push and pull when you talk about pretrial release versus pretrial detention. And that's just something that our office and the courts are always working through, and everybody's always trying to strike the right balance.
So at this point, I'd like to take a little bit of a step back so that we can get to know you a little bit better. Gabe, what first got you interested in the law?
I first got interested in the law. I remember it very clearly. I was in Detroit Public School, 7th grade civics class, and we started to just discuss, the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and kind of some of the fundamental Supreme Court cases interpreting the Constitution. And that was a subject matter that I immediately found fascinating and interesting. And, my teachers could see how much I engaged with that subject matter. And really, I was encouraged by my teachers that this is something you should pursue. You're interested in this. I think in the 7th grade, people started telling me you should be a lawyer. And I really never, I kind of stayed on that path all the way to today.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've talked a lot on this show about what was happening with and around Kim Gardner before and leading up to her resignation. And during one of my conversations with our politics correspondent, Jason Rosenbaum, I had asked, who'd want this job? And while I was asking it with a bit of laughter, it was an earnest question. So I'd like to ask that of you. It's one thing to be open to a job, but what was it that made you want to be the interim circuit attorney of St. Louis?
I saw it as an opportunity to serve. As it's been said, it is a privilege to be able to work hard on important work, and the job certainly offered that opportunity. I also saw it as a job that I had a skill set that I thought I could be successful with the job. And I also received a lot of encouragement from colleagues and fellow members of the bar that it would be a real service to the community if I would step up and make myself available to serve in the position. So all those reasons went into it.
Yeah.
And I will have to say I feel good about the decision 6 weeks in. I tell people I don't know what it says about me, but I am having fun. I think at our office, I think people would tell you that we enjoy our work and we're having fun. And having the ability to serve and do something good for the community is a big part of the enjoyment of the job.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any plans to go to the voters to seek election as circuit attorney next year?
That's something that I'm going to, of course, consider. I haven't given it any serious consideration to this point. I've been busy doing other things. Mm-hmm. But at some point, I will start to consider it, and I will make a decision about that. I'm not putting any timeline on it. But I would say that prior to May 1st of this year, if you had asked me were I going to ever run for elective office, I would have told you no. But of course, I wasn't anticipating this unique set of circumstances. So under these circumstances, I think it's something that I have to give serious consideration.
Mm-hmm. And as a last question here, what is it that is on your desk that you look at each day that gives you the energy to do the work that you're doing now?
I wouldn't say there's anything on my desk that does that for me, but really what gives me the energy and encouragement every day is coming in and just seeing the tremendous work and commitment of all the people in our office, and people who are really mission-driven, people who could be other places making a lot more money, and probably not working quite as hard, who just, love the work they do there because it gives them an opportunity to serve and help families. So that's what gives me the encouragement.
Gabe Gore is circuit attorney for the city of St. Louis. Thank you so much for spending time talking with us today, and I hope to talk with you again.
Thank you.
This episode was produced by executive producer Alex Hoyer,
with audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
St. Louis on the Air proudly supports local artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com.